Letter 11, non-arrival of a letter, departure of my friends, solitude, the Duomo, table d'hôte, Austrian government, by Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley. A most disagreeable circumstance has occurred. I told you that we expected letters at Milan, one especially that was to contain the remittance for our homeward journey. It did not, has not come. Perplexed and annoyed, we held council. Our friends were all departing, and it seemed best that P should go with them, and that I should remain to await the arrival of my letter. I did not like the idea of the solitary journey, but in every point of view this seemed the best course. I gave what money I had to P, barely sufficient to take him to England. He went, and here I am, feeling much like a hostage for a compact about to be violated. I left England with a merry party of light-hearted youngsters. They are gone, and I alone. This the end of my pleasant wanderings. Such, is the picture of life. Thus every poet sings, thus every moralist preaches. I am more dispirited than I ought to be, but I cannot help it. It rained and blew for several days after the travellers left me. Inclement weather for them, but would I had been with them. Each day I go to the post office and look over the huge packet of English letters, but there are none for me. I did not even ask P to write to me, for on any day I may get the expected letter and at once leave Milan. This excessive uncertainty is the worst part of my troubles. To a rich person such an accident was scarcely felt, and indeed with me, though if protracted it may entail on me a good deal of embarrassment, still it is only annoyance, while I most unreasonably feel it as a misfortune. I am miserable. Returning each day from the post office I cannot rally my spirits. My imagination conjures up 1,000 evils, yet in truth none as consequent on this accident, sufficient to justify the dismay that invades me. Feeling this, my fancy dreams of other ills, of which this shadow over my mind may be the forerunner, for often, as you know, in today already walks tomorrow. And yet the evil that comes is not the evil we fear, for, as another poet truly sings, the uncertainty is the worst part, as I have said, for as I never contemplated staying more than a day or two here, I did not provide myself with any letters of introduction, and it is useless asking for any now, as I shall, I trust, be gone before they could arrive. Besides that, most of the Milanese are at their country houses, and it is with them that I should have liked to form some acquaintance. By chance I had a letter to the French consul, but his family is away and he, meanwhile, dines at the table d'hôte of this same hotel, but he is also a good deal absent visiting and is no resource to me. I spend my time, therefore, as I best may, in alternate walks and reading or working. Each morning I pass a considerable time in the aisles of the cathedral. The interior is not of course to be compared to Westminster Abbey. The ceiling, for instance, is painted, not carved in fretwork, nor are there the solemn shadows nor the antique venerable tombs, but on the other hand, it is unencumbered by the hideous modern monuments which deform our venerable cathedral, nor is it kept in the same dirty state. My favourite haunt is behind the choir, where there is a magnificent painted window, which throws rich and solemn shadows all around. The influence of this spot soothes my mind, and chases away 1,000 grim shadows, prognosticating falsehood, desolation, and hopeless sorrow. I throw off the strange clinging presentiments still more entirely when I have on fine days mounted to the outside of the Duomo. You know by pictures and descriptions how the exterior is covered by pinnacles and statues. Many put up but yesterday are snow white and glitter in the sun. The city and the plain of Lombardy are at my feet. To the north my beloved mountains, magnificent shapes which the heavens stoop to visit, and which, speaking of power and inspiring adoration, excite and delight the imagination, made lethargic by mere plain country. The Resegon is there, reminding me of the ecstasies I felt on the Lake of Como, which I remember as dreams sent from heaven, vanished forever. I turn my eyes southward and try to trace the route to Florence. I am much tempted, when I do get my expected letter, to go thither to see the friend whom I wished to visit at Venice, but who is now at Florence. Much of my desire in visiting Italy was derived from the hope of seeing her and her sister, whom I left gay blooming children, but I must defer this pleasure. Milan is not a pleasant town for one so strangely placed as I am, who would fain leave streets and houses to take refuge in solitary walks and country rambles. The country immediately round is low and uninviting, especially now that the autumnal rains seem to have set in, and the roads are dirty, indeed to all appearance impassable. Still you may be sure I walk when I can, and when on leaving the hotel I do not turn to the left towards the cathedral, I turn to the right, along a wide street, with the best shops, and where the shops cease there are some fine large palaces. The French have a laudable passion for public gardens, though their notion of what is agreeable in that respect does not coincide with ours, and grass and turf is, as I have before said, unknown out of England. They have laid out gardens in the outskirts of Milan, into which I turn, and then, ascending some steps, I enter on the boulevard, a wide drive on the walls of the town, planted with trees. This is the Corso, where every evening the Milanese resort in their carriages, not now, however, as all of any rank are out of town. From this boulevard, which is elevated on the walls, one looks down on the vine-planted lowlands beneath. A more agreeable spot, but it is too far for a walk, is the triumphal arch begun by Napoleon that forms the entrance to the city from the road of the Simplon. It is surrounded by a grassy plain. As a harrier at the distance of some 20 miles, rise the Alps, the resting places of the wandering clouds, the aspiration of earth to reach the heavens. When I see these majestic ranges, I always feel happier. Those know not why who have never felt the love of mountains, which is a real passion in the hearts of mountaineers. And though I am truly English-born and bred in plains, yet in my girlhood I visited Scotland and saw from my window the snow-clad Grampians, and I then imbibed this love for the palaces of nature, which, when far off, haunts me still, with a keen desire to be among them, and a sense of extreme content when in their vicinity. At 4 o'clock is the table d'hôte. I have been tempted to dine in my own rooms. I feel so cast away going down alone, but I have resisted this feeling, for it is here only I can mingle at all with my fellow creatures, and though the mode is tolerably disagreeable, yet I am the better for it afterwards. When we came, our party was at the foot of the table. I have mounted gradually, till now I am next my acquaintance, the French consul, at top. All the guests are changed, and are always changing. They form a curious assemblage, mostly English and some whom I cannot make out. They talk English as their native language, but there is something unlike ourselves about them. I have been told that where one encounters these Anglicans, who are not English, Scotch, or Irish, they are Americans, and so it may be. Sometimes I amuse myself by classifying the party. There is a round, good-humoured clergyman with his family who is the curious traveller. He is very earnest in search of knowledge, but gentlemanly and unintrusive. There is the knowing traveller. He pounced upon a poor little man sitting next him today. So you have been shopping, making purchases, been horridly cheated, I'm sure. Those Italians are such rogues. What did you buy? What did you give for those gloves? 4 swansigers you have been done. A swansiger and a half, that's the price anywhere. 2 swansigers for the best gloves to be found in Milan, and those are not the best. This gratuitous piece of misinformation made the poor purchaser blush up to the eyes with shame at his own folly. I wish I could see a few carbonari, but I have no opening for making acquaintance. I should like to know how the Milanese feel towards their present government. Since the death of one of the most treacherous and wicked tyrants that ever disgraced humanity, the Emperor Francis, the Austrian government has made show of greater moderation. As the price of the restoration of Ancona by the French, the exiles were permitted to return. While we were at Como, we had seen the honoured and noble Gonfalonieri, returned from Spielberg, the shadow of a man. His wife no more, his life withered, as a glorious exotic transported to the north, nipped by frosts it was never born to feel. In commerce also, the Austrian is trying to improve. A railroad is projected to Venice, a portion of it is already constructed. They are endeavouring to revive trade, as much as it can be revived in a country where 2/3 of the produce of taxation is sent out of it, and it may be guessed what a drooping, inert revival it is. But the curious thing about the policy of present arbitrary governments is the encouragement they give to the education of the poor. Even the Emperor Nicholas, we are told, desires to educate the serfs. From whatever motive this springs, we must cling to it as a real blessing, for the most extensive advantages must result to the cause of civilization from the enlightenment, however partial and slight, of the multitude. Knowledge must from its nature grow, and rooting it out can alone prevent its tendency to spread. We ought, however, to consider one thing in the establishment of the normal schools by Austria. To our shame be it spoken, the education of the poor is far more attended to in Germany than with us. In Prussia, Württemberg, and above all in Saxony, the normal schools are admirable. Austria was forced to appear to do the like, and they do so in a way which they hope will increase and consolidate their power. Government allows no schools but its own, and selects teachers not as being qualified for the task, but as servile tools in their hands. The books they allow can scarcely be guessed at in this country, so totally void are they of instruction or true religion. The Austrian hopes to bring up the new generation in the lights he gives, and to know no more than he teaches. He has succeeded, and will probably long continue to succeed in Austria, but in Italy he will not. If the physical state of the poor in Lombardy is ameliorated, they will be tranquil, but hatred of the stranger must ever be a portion of the air he breathes. It is against the rich and highborn, however, that the Austrian wages war. A hatred of the German is rooted in the nobility of Milan. They are watched with unsleeping vigilance. Above all, the greatest care is taken that their youth should not receive an enlightened education. From the moment a young man is known to hold himself free from the prevalent vices of the times, to be studious and high-minded, he becomes marked. He is not allowed to travel. He is jealously watched. No career is open to him. He is hemmed into a narrow and still narrower circle, till at last the moss of years and hopelessness gathers over and deadens his mind. For the present governments of Italy know that there is a spirit abroad in that country, which forces every Italian that thinks and feels to hate them and rebel in his heart. Still no letter. The mystery of its non-appearance grows darker. I have been better off these last few days from the arrival of the friends who accompanied us down the Moselle. With them I have revisited the Brera, and their society has cheered me. They are gone, and I am fallen again into solitude and perplexity. At last there is change. My letter is come, or rather I have found it, for it has been here almost ever since our arrival, long before I was left alone. I had as usual visited the post office, and looked over the letters arrived this day in vain. I then asked for yesterday's letters. Yesterday was not post day from England, and I had not visited the office, but letters might have come to me from Venice or Florence. The huge packet of all the English letters was handed me. I looked it over listlessly when a bright light illumined my darkness, my letter, lost amidst the crowd. Yet I had often looked over this same heap of letters and it had not been there. I mentioned this to the clerk, who replied, "Oh, then it must have been out at the time." It seems that they send the uncalled-for English letters round the town to the different hotels to be claimed, but by ill luck mine did not reach me. By mistake it had been directed in the first place to Como, but it had arrived in Milan on the 17th, and this is the 27th. All is changed now, all is hurry and bustle. I am making inquiries for my journey to Geneva. I sit down to close this letter, and to say that I quit Milan the day after tomorrow. My next letter will reach you from Paris. Adieu.